Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am so glad that we're getting together and having practice tonight. If you want to unmute yourself and say hello to me, that would be great. Don't feel like you need to, but if you want to unmute, it'd be my pleasure to interact with each of you briefly. I'd love to hear something about your day. And if you're new to Yin Yoga, I'd like to know that as well. Anything that you want to say? Hi, Alex.
Hi there. I'm in the dark. I don't mean to be, but I am.
I'm glad to see that you have lit a candle, because that is really what I encourage everyone to do. It's just a nice little ritual to establish sacred space and remind yourself of the inner light. So I assume that's a candle, or maybe that's your fireplace. Oh, all right.
Candles, 3 candles.
Good. What drew you to practice tonight?
You.
All right. Thank you.
A commitment just to try to do my yoga more regularly, and checking in with you is really helpful to be able to do that.
All right, great, thank you. And the fact that you all want me to do this inspires me as well, because the planning is a big part of what I enjoy and where I really connect with my deeper self and spirit also. Emily, hi, glad you're here with your dog.
Oh yeah.
Do you have an intent? Do you have an intention for this evening?
Apparently love.
That's great. That's sweet. Well,
hi.
All right. Well, good to see you. After you say hi to me, then you can mute yourself, but I'd like to go around the room. Peter, welcome to practice.
Hello.
What drew you here tonight? What do you need?
Yin sounds attractive. Slow, silent stretches.
Yes.
For a while.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah.
And Michelle Shelby.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to see you.
It has been quite some time.
It has. I'm so grateful that you're doing this.
Good.
So, yes, I'm looking forward to the inner meditation, the quiet stretch.
Okay.
Just to, get grounded and stay, not even a day at a time, but like an hour at a time.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing that intention with me. I'm with you on that.
Thank you.
Glad. And Marilyn, this is your first online class with me. It's good to see you. Can I hear your voice? I don't know if she knows how to unmute.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. How are you? I'm glad you're here to practice with us tonight. And Michelle, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, getting to see some of my old students that I haven't seen in like almost a year, it seems like. Do you have an intention? What do you need from your practice tonight?
Yeah, just relaxation. I don't think I've seen you since the third beach yoga.
Yes.
Yeah, that used to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it has been a while.
Relax and really enjoying myself. So this is the first time for me in Yin Yoga. So this will be exciting.
All right, good. And that is the funny thing about Yin Yoga is, I don't know if exciting is the word that I would use. It's a humble practice. There's nothing showy about it. It's, you get in the poses and you just stay and you settle, and so it's really different than flow. But I'm glad that you're here, Michelle. So, all right. So let's see, after you greet me, you can mute yourself. Suzanne, welcome to class. I'm glad you're here. Good to see you. Do you have an intention or a word you want to put into the room?
Well, I'm just really happy to do this. This is my first yoga online class. Somehow I resist these, but I thought a yin was a good way to start. And I love your third beach yoga. Big fan.
Yes, I recognize your face from there. Okay, well, I'm glad you're with us. I resisted teaching online for quite some time also, but now that I've gotten used to it, it's not so bad. All right, well, welcome. Glad that you're here. And Teresa, welcome back into practice with me. You used to come to Yin Yoga at Sacred Center Friday nights with Alicia.
Yes, and the bird sanctuary with you. I love the bird sanctuary. I miss that. And Third Beach. It's just beautiful. Yeah. I was excited to be here.
All right, good. I was just in contact with the Norman Bird Sanctuary, and I'm going to add some extra classes there this summer. And things are developing.
That's my ultimate favorite. It's just
me too.
Beautiful there. Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. Joanne, how about you? How are you?
Hi, I'm good. All things considered. Nice to see you. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, I'm glad to add a second class in the week. We'll see how it goes. But welcome. I'm glad you're here. And Annette.
Hi, Shelley.
Hi.
Thank you for doing this. I missed Yin Yoga so much, and I just happened to have a free night, and it just worked out perfectly. So I am so excited to just be and just allow myself to just be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is a practice of allowing and being. That's well said. I'm delighted you're here. And Holly, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm ready. I hope everybody has their equipment. I'll go over that in a moment. But Holly, you have an intention tonight?
Peace.
Okay. Yeah. Yin yoga for inner peace. All right. Great. Good to have you. Anybody else that wants to take their camera off and say hi? There's no pressure to do so, but if you wish, it'd be nice to me to be able to greet you.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, Sean. This is my son. My son's at college in Florida, so that's good to see him flash in. He's a big fan of Yin Yoga. He likes get in a pose, stay, not a lot of busyness. So I'm glad Sean's here with us tonight too.
Hi, Shelley. It's Rose.
Oh, Rose, there you are. You made it. Yay. All right. I'm glad. Some of you had to persevere a little bit with Vigaro, but once you get it, it's okay. I'm glad you're here. Do you have an intention or a need or a word to put into the room?
I think for me, I was thinking a lot of people have been saying that 2021 has to be better, but I said I have to be better. So I'm just trying to be better.
All right. More your true self. That's the better. All right. Terrific. Hi, Nancy. Welcome. Glad that you're with us tonight. I think we have maybe around 20 people that I'm expecting. So that's a nice affirmation that there's a need for this. I believe that you all got an email, from Vigaro telling you, what you need to bring, but I'll review it. You will need a yoga mat, maybe not, but you'll definitely want a yoga block or two, a bolster or a firm sofa cushion would be fine, but I do plan on using the bolster quite a bit, so you can make do, and hop up now and get things if you didn't have them. Don't need a strap tonight, but sometimes that will be the case. And you're going to want a blanket or two. The yoga blankets tend to be very firm, and if you don't have that kind of a blanket, you could use a large beach towel. But a couple blankets is good, because we want to be in this creating some, tension in the body and sensation, but we also want a little bit of luxury and comfort. So I want you to have that. And then the optional things are a candle to light and just set a spiritual atmosphere in the room where you are, even if it's a room that you spend many, many hours in every day doing, mundane or things that don't feel spiritual necessarily. You are creating it into a sacred space, you're opening sacred space, you might want some soft background music, just something ambient. That would be fine. Through Chrome, I'm not able to offer you any music at this time. Any aromatherapy, if you like lavender oil like I do, I've got a little aromatherapy diffuser going on in my sanctuary here, so you might want that. Eye pillow for Shavasana, or any kind of a soft, covering for your eyes. And I thought about this. If you've got a cranky back, maybe you want a heating pad, and you can just plug it into the wall. And when it comes time to do any of the poses on our back, you could put a little heating pad down if you wanted to, or just in Shavasana, it could be over your abdomen and be nurturing and comforting for you. So this is time for you. So if you're around fetching those things, I understand. And I do have the lights bright here because I want you to be able to see me, and I'll be demoing the pose, but then you're going to stay. We'll be in each pose for about 5 minutes, and I'll guide you in. I want to provide ample silence. I also have some nice tidbits to read to you, an assortment of poetry and little encouragement about ahimsa, the foundational principle of yoga, nonviolence and compassion. So I'll have a few readings for you also. I just want to open up because there are a few people who are fairly new to Yin. While Yang yoga, the more active and busy yoga, focuses on muscles, Yin yoga targets your deep connective tissues, like your fascia, your ligaments, joints, bones. So it's slower, it's more meditative, and it gives you space to turn inward and tune into both your mind and the physical sensations of your body. And because you're holding the poses longer than a traditional type of yoga, Yin helps you stretch and lengthen some of the rarely used tissue, while also teaching you how to breathe through discomfort and sit with your thoughts. The practice of Yin Yoga is based on ancient Chinese philosophy and Taoist principles that believe there's pathways of energy, qi, running through the body. And by stretching and deepening into these poses, we're opening up blockages. We're releasing that energy to flow freely so that the healthy flow of qi is restored. So it's got a very rejuvenating and restoring quality to it. Like I said before, there's nothing showy about Yin, so I consider it a practice of ego relaxation. It's not ego inflating, in my opinion. And the essence of ego relaxation that's described in the book, The Way of Grace, that I'm leading a book group through, the essence of it is to relax the ego, and which means to be nothing, do nothing, seek for nothing, just be as you are, resting in spaciousness, boundless awareness, allowing ourselves to be held, sinking more and more into the moment where we can connect with those deeper layers of ourselves and that ground of grace. So we're going to cultivate a loving inner environment. And for many people, the after effects from a Yin yoga practice are quite profound, both physically and energetically. So breath, doorway into grace and into the practice. So just invite you to marinate. Let yourself be soaked with the qualities of peace and settling and letting go, opening up, receiving, welcoming. And I was thinking, just like the earth welcomes a seed, like a seed, for a seed to grow, it spends some time like wrapped in the darkness. And that's what Yin yoga is. It's just a time of dropping in to a more, like a darkness, a cocoon almost, and just being there. And that's what seeds do in the ground. They're there until it's the right time for germination, the right conditions. And we're each like that seed, especially in the winter. We're full of potential, right? So we're becoming comfortable with that experience of settling in to darkness and just knowing it's part of the process toward growth. So no rules tonight, no rules in my Yin classes, just a few guidelines. Stay connected to your breath the whole time. Lean into the stretches as much as your body will allow you or you want to. It's intended to be a practice that creates a lot of sensation, but no sharp pain. So restorative yoga is all about releasing and minimizing sensation, but yin is different. We're purposely leaning into these stretches skillfully, like applying tension and pressure. And then when we release the pose, there's a rebound, a nourishing, a rehydrating that happens in the body. So I invite you also in a mental posture of just receptivity and patience. And just make it your main focus. Soften and just keep opening, keep releasing. Allow any thought, sensation, or feeling that's cold or dense, hard, closed, rigid, or icy, allow that to melt. So let's take the left hand over the heart. Always start with an intention and a dedication. My yoga is my form of worship, so it's very prayerful to me, and I appreciate that some of you resonate with me on that. But left hand over the heart, you're bowing to your own true nature, your own inner light. You're bowing to the intention to just be here, to receive, to open. So what is your intention for practice tonight? What are you going to devote the good energy of this practice to? Are you willing to let something go, let something melt? And then reminding ourselves that we practice not only for ourselves, but for the greater good. Please take your right hand also over your heart. And in this moment, bowing. How might this practice, this good energy generated, benefit all beings? How might this practice honor the earth from which we have come? And may this be a healing practice for all of us. Yes, may it be so. All right, first posture, butterfly. I suggest that you take your folded blanket. Well, I also suggest that you might want to pin me if you feel like that would be helpful for you to visually see me better. So that I think you all probably know how to hover your cursor somewhere right in my square and push the little pin just like that. So first pose is butterfly. You're going to bring the soles of the feet together. I'm seated on a folded blanket, and I find that that's really just helpful for my low back. You're going to adjust your legs according to the tightness of your body. If you are more on the open side, you can draw your heels in a little bit closer to your pelvis. Your hands are going to connect with the lower legs, ankles, possibly the feet. If you're stiffer, tighter, you can slide your feet forward so that your heels are slightly out in front of you. You're going to want to have your yoga blocks close by and your bolster and at least the blanket that you're seated on and possibly another one next to you. So like you take the hands down and hold where you can. If you want to take the ankles or interlace your fingers around the soles of your feet, you can do that. And we're going to move a little bit before we hold. So I'd like you to straighten your arms, lift your chest up, lift your chin up, pull your chest up away from your feet. And then when you breathe out, lean forward a little bit. Just really pulse with that. Inhale, lift your chest up, straighten your arms. Exhale, soften the elbows, drop your gaze towards your feet. And several times like that. Starting to establish a smooth and even breath. Lifting up, straight spine, exhaled slightly forward, and once or twice more. Straight arms, straight spine, breathing out, nice, easy lean forward. And then last time, up And this time as we come forward, we are going to be here to stay. So in Yin Yoga, there's the understanding that it takes about 2 minutes, which is about 20 breaths, to kind of get the body to soften a little bit, get past that first threshold of resistance. So just, you might notice that in our poses after the 2-minute mark, like, something lets go. And here, this is up to you as far as how much you lean your torso forward. Some of you might decide that you're going to start using some support now, which could mean taking your bolster, perching it on your feet, maybe leaning your chin on it, stacking your forearms, while continually leaning into the fold. As you smooth out your breath, let your throat soften. Whenever you choose to close your eyes, feel the gentle way that the eyelids cover the eyes and how that is a beautiful invitation to drop into your inner space. If you feel open to using visualization, you can kind of send your attention right down towards your lower back and imagine that your breath is localized down in the low back, so we'd be supporting the kidneys. And you can keep the elbows where they are or place them on the front side of your shins. Okay. Slow, steady breaths right there. This is a yoga poem. We sit, legs bent, eyes half closed to the world. We go down to the hallway of beginning, working deep from the bone. Breathing is living. Sitting clears the mind of all things. But where do they go? Into the circle of breath beneath us, into the center within. No place is too small for the sacred. Allow the quiet to feed you as a source of nourishment. Indulge your body in your full attention. Can you let your head go just a little bit more? A little softer through the jaw. Relax through the sides of your neck. Nice deep breath. Prepare to come out of that pose slowly, rolling the spine back up. You can sense that the vertebrae stack one upon the other. When you're back to seated, you can bring your legs together and extend the legs out long. And I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but I never take offense if you turn your camera off. I'm fine with that. I just like to see your face when you first get to class. So give your legs a little bounce. Notice what shifted already by getting in touch with your intention, your breath, setting up your sacred space. And you'll notice that we'll have pose and counter pose. We'll be folding, we'll be opening back and forth to create balance, one of the great qualities that yoga develops in us. Next pose is going to be on our back. It's going to be a supported fish pose. So it's a chest opener. And you have some options that I'll explain to you. You can use either a bolster, blanket, or a block underneath your spine. I'm going to demonstrate it with a bolster. So the bolster can go lengthwise or the bolster can go across. And I want you to take some moments, because this is not a practice of rushing. So take a few moments and decide, figure out what is going to be the best way for your body to open up on the front side. So you're going to have a seat and you're going to lean back. So I have the bolster across my shoulder blades, and I've got a little blanket for the back of my skull to land on. And then I need you to spend a few moments and discern if that's going to work for you. And if not, you can come up with a different configuration, a different position. You have some options with your arms and legs. You can keep your legs bent so your low back has a little more width across it, maybe even tipping your knees in toward each other. Your arms could be down on your torso, or if you want the maximum opportunity to open to the chest, you can take your arms out to the sides. And there should be plenty of sensation, and the body should be able to soften progressively. If you get into a position and there's no quality of softening that happens progressively, then there's probably an adjustment that needs to be made for you. You want to feel the body be able to let go into the pose. So supported fish pose, beautiful opener for the heart, nice little curve for the low back. And once you've finished making your adjustments, then I'd like you to settle into stillness. You can find that nurturing quality of breath that's balanced. Inhalation, exhalation. Release the tension that has gathered through the chest and shoulders. Ease through the arms. Poem by John O'Donohue called Time to Be Slow. This is the time to be slow. Lie low to the wall until the bitter weather of winter passes. Try as best you can not to let the wire brush of doubt scrape from your heart any sense of yourself, your brilliant light. If you remain generous, time will come good, and you will find your feet again on fresh pastures of promise, where the air will be kind and blushed with beginning. Settling and opening, noticing, allowing, accepting. Gentle noticing of the spinal flexion, sensation through the shoulders, the chest, opening through the throat. Where you feel the physical support of the objects underneath you, and any way in which you feel the energetic support, practicing in community, being guided by someone who cares about your well-being. Relax. Last several breaths here. Enjoy it. When that feels complete for you, please roll over onto your side long enough to be able to get your props out of the way so that you can come down directly onto your back. You can take the bolster or blanket and put it off to the side. We might use that in a moment. But for now, coming right back down onto our backs. Between poses, we have in a minute of integration. So I think it might feel nice here to hug your knees in towards your chest and rock a little bit from left to right. Massaging those kidney points in the low back, right down into the ground beneath you. In traditional Chinese medicine, and therefore in Yin Yoga, emphasis for the winter season is in supporting the kidney and bladder energy pathways or meridians. So a lot of focus on the low back and in our postures and even in just our intention. Hold still for a moment or two here. Breathe. And then our next pose is a reclining spinal twist. I find it very supportive to take either bolster or a folded blanket and put it off to the side to rest my lower legs on. So I'm going to be taking my folded blanket off the mat down to the right. And as I drop my legs to the right, I'm stacking both my shins, one upon the other, and on top of that blanket. Some of you might use the bolster if you need to have a little bit more of a gap between the floor and your legs. And others of you might decide that you want no support at all because that's a more intense twist and that's what you prefer. Please take your right hand and place it on the top knee, which is the left knee. Settle, roll your left shoulder down, maybe turn your left palm up. Then elongate from your tailbone right up to the back of your skull. You might initially start with just the gaze upward. Focus on melting, releasing your right outer hip to the ground. And that drawing over of both the legs to the right. Breathe deeply. You can bring your breath awareness to the left side of your body, left ribs. Left arm descending, creating a good strong twist here, and then softening into it with your breath. You might at some point decide to turn your head one way or the other. Slow and mindful practice like this. You have plenty of time to really care for your body in each posture. Little adjustments, fine-tuning in a way that is truly supportive and just caring. I've got a poem called Listening to Winter. I will read it in two parts to you. The trees have shed their colorful autumn robes. Winter is raging through the dark, empty branches, and I am listening. I'm listening to the roar and to the quiet of winter. I'm listening to a beauty that sometimes remains unseen. I am listening. I'm listening to the seed hidden in the earth. I'm listening to the dark swallowing up the light. I'm listening to faith rising out of doubt. I'm listening to the need to believe. I am listening. I'm listening to the season of contemplation, to the urgency of our world's need for reflection. I'm listening to all that waits within the earth, to bulbs and seeds, to deep roots dreaming. I'm listening to the sacred winter rest. I'm listening to the long nights, comforting darkness, fruitful darkness, beautiful darkness. I'm listening to the darkness of the winter season, and I am listening to the sparks of hope within the darkness. I am listening. Have you felt the body release into the posture yet? Are you starting to sense a coming together of the energy of the mind, the heart, and the body? Becoming ever more present. Five more breaths where you are. Please bring yourself slowly out of that right hand twist and over to the other side. Mindfully shifting any support that you've used so that it's outside you to the left. Feel the legs drop. That little fine tuning. Maybe you need to tuck your left hip underneath so you can feel your right hip stack on top. I would like for you to have your feet in a restful way. So make sure you're supported enough for that. Feel your left hand on top of your right knee. And maybe at this time, as you're settling into your practice, you can start to just notice the senses even more. Feel the cloth that your left hand is touching. The temperature in the room where you are. Allow your eyes, if they are open, to have a softer gaze. As you breathe deeply in and out through the nose, notice any fragrance that's in your midst. Let there be a gentleness to the way that you're listening, whether it's to my instruction or to your own breath or to some music. Relax the body into this posture. Make sure that you've got adequate sensation rotating through the spine, but it's one in which you can relax into. Feel your right shoulder drop, the descent of your right arm. And let your head naturally tip whichever way it's most comfortable. And settle, just tune in. There's a subtlety. It's a beautiful part of being a living being. And if we move too fast, we miss that subtlety. I'm listening to storms when they rage outside my window, or storms as they rage in my heart. I'm listening to all that makes me pull my cloak a little tighter. I'm listening to trust buried deep in the ground of my being. I am listening. I'm listening to the kind permission of the season to rest more often, to reflect more deeply, to pray without words. I am listening to the sacrament of non-doing. I am listening. I'm listening to my dreams and inner visions, to the unknown wrapped in the mystery of my life, to tears trapped in underground streams of my being, to seeds watered daily by those tears. I am listening. I'm listening to the quiet life in winter's womb. I'm listening to winter, which does nurture spring. I'm listening to brilliant winter sunsets and lovely frosty mornings. I'm listening to snowflakes flying through the air, to the cold winds that often blow out there, to bare trees so lovely in their emptiness, and to the one leaf that never did let go. I am listening to the poetry of winter. So listen to the subtle feedback that your body is giving you. Notice how your breath has smoothed out. Maybe how whatever was so important earlier has faded. And now what's important is for you to be present with yourself. Last several breaths here. When you come out of the twist, a little mini Shavasana, please lay flat on your back, lengthen out your body. And as you just kind of lay in the stillness, sense and notice what we call in Yin Yoga the rebound or the renourishing. When you have just placed intentional stress on certain parts of the body, and then now as you soften, it's like a sponge rehydrating. Allow yourself to integrate, digest. And you know, it's your practice. You could skip any pose you want. You can stay in something longer. That's very important that you know that. If you want to follow my lead, the next posture is going to be seated, and it's going to be half dragonfly. So I'd like you to come up slowly. You can take that folded blanket that I mentioned to you earlier, and you're going to have a seat back on it, just like you did with our opening pose of butterfly. This time, for half dragonfly, I'm going to have you take your left leg straight out, and I give you two options with your right leg. You can have your right leg folded in so your right heel comes in toward the pelvis, or you can do what I'm going to choose. I'm going to take my right heel and tuck it right outside my right hip because I need to stretch my quadriceps. So that's an option for you. So left leg is long and straight in like a half of a straddle position, right leg folded either in or behind. Good. And it is beneficial to be perched up on that blanket. Please take your left hand and place it on your left leg. We're going to move in and out of this. And I do occasionally practice Qigong, and I really appreciate the fluidity of that. So we're going to integrate a tiny Qigong movement here by taking the right palm, pass it right across your chest, push your right palm toward your left foot, and then pull it back. You can softly draw your fingertips across your heart and out toward the right. And we'll do that a number of times. So press across. Should be nice and fluid, you know. Maybe you can even just let your head move around, let it drape from one side to the other, pressing across. I'm finding I'm inclined to inhale as I draw the right hand and the heart open. I'm inclined to exhale as I press the palm across. And each time, maybe reaching a little further toward that left foot. Inhale, come back up. And you might have guessed we're going to hold. So come on over. And now both hands drop down. Some of you are going to be up high, stay here. Some of you are carefully going to choose to bring your bolster around. This is what I kind of liked when I was practicing this sequence. You can fold over that left leg. Kind of got my left arm draped over that bolster, and then I can rest my forehead on the bolster or on my hand. So lots of variations here for you. What's important to me is that you're feeling a long stretch across the inseam of the left leg, hamstrings of the left leg, and you're getting a deep opening through the right side body. And you're softening into the pose. You're allowing the pose to draw you in. And smooth out your breath. Settle where you are. Wherever your attention goes in the body, energy or chi flows. So where's this pose most engaging or most challenging for you? And would you like to settle right into that? For some of you, it's the back side of the left leg. For some of you, it might be the right outer hip. Awareness. Is a reading called Precious Present. Celebrate the little things, precious moments, small victories, a joyous chill down your spine, a smile you can't stop with a frown. Allow yourself to feel so bowled over as if an angel has given you a shove. See the sight that you've seen 10,000 times before, but today, so new, so unfamiliar, so preciously present. That's what makes life's journey a miraculous string of happiness throughout the weeks and the years. Relish little moments of victory, of success, of smart work well done. Honor the now. Celebrate the instances of total peace. Looking out upon the most beautiful landscape, you know, that scene that Mother Nature painted with perfection, the one you'll surely never forget. Look around when all is right and say it aloud. All is right. Has the pose opened up for you at all? Did you find the grace to sink into even the tiniest little opening? Occupy it. Fill it with your attention and with your breath. Good. 5 more breaths where you are. And then please use your hands pressing into the ground to slowly bring yourself up. And just noticing how the vertebrae stack one upon the other until you come up to vertical. And then let's unfold that right leg. Extend it out in front of you. Match it with the left. Give a little bounce. If you'd like to take your fists and gently tap the outside of the legs, all the way down to the outside of the calves, and then inseam of the legs, little tapping, patting. That might feel good. All right, let's explore the other side together. Right leg out, left leg either folded with the left heel in or tucking your left heel outside your left hip. And it really is fabulous to be in a yoga practice that is so slow paced that there's time to pay attention to the little details. I love that. You can have that bolster if you're going to use it, handy outside your right leg. Right hand is somewhere on the right leg, wherever it naturally lands. And then please take your left palm, do that little Qigong move, just pressing the left hand across your chest in the direction of your right foot. Good. And then inhale, draw your left fingertips across your heart, open your palm back out. And make this fluid, particularly with the upper body. Good. So with some of these poses in Yin that we hold so much, it's really nice to find a few moments of fluidity before we hold again. If you haven't let out a sigh or some kind of vocalization, like it's an accomplishment to roll out your mat and get to class. Give it a little sigh. And we're going to head over and hold. And remember, it's a process. We don't start in the pose at the same place that we're going to finish in the pose. So it's beautiful unfolding. many options here. If you're going to support yourself just with your hands and you prefer your torso to be really just suspended over the leg, that would be one method. Or if you like the bolster, as I described before, I have it outside my right leg and I can lean my right arm on it. And the goal is to keep leaning into the stretch. Keep the sensation going without force or struggle. Settle where you are. Just watch the pose unfold. Balance out your breath. I do believe this practice is going to have you really feel emotionally balanced, energetically balanced. I'm reading to you from the yamas and the niyamas, from a section on ahimsa, nonviolence, non-harming, the foundational principle of the ethics of yoga. Balance comes from listening to the guidance and wisdom of the inner voice. Like the body, the mind and soul need time to digest and assimilate. Like the body, the mind and soul need time to rest. We create this rest by allowing space that we can breathe in. Not more clutter, but more space. Space to reflect, space to journal, space for closure to happen, space for imagination, and space to feel the calling of the life force within us. Balance comes from listening to the guidance and wisdom of the inner voice. So in this pose, where do you feel the spaciousness? Where's the body opening? What do you feel invited into? Deeper into the fold? Or do you feel invited more into opening the left side body? Directing your mind and your breath to the left hip and ribs. Can you allow your tongue to relax and the whole interior of your mouth? Allow there to be a dissolving of all agenda, all thinking ahead, just one breath at a time. Last 5 breaths. Notice any degree of contentment that you can have just being on the floor of your house, folded in a little stretch. It's amazing, isn't it? And please join me in coming up slowly. It's a good idea to press into your hands, walk your hands back towards your pelvis so you can come up to seated. And lengthen out your legs in front of you. Give them all a little bounce if you liked that technique of tapping on the legs. Just kind of circulating energy. You can do that. All right. We're going to come into Sphinx pose. We're going to come into a belly down back bend. And I'll be offering you some variations. Those, if you want to take your blanket and lay it flat down on your mat, because that would be just kind of cozy, I'm going to do that. And if you have a fair amount of flexion in your spine, you could take that bolster, or I'm really curious if some of you just grabbed a cushion off your couch, because I think that would work also. But you can put that out in front of you, because I'll tell you how you can use that. But all of us are going to come down onto the belly. So different relationship with our practice now. Sphinx pose has the elbows just slightly in front of the armpits, and you can crisscross your forearms, and you can make it more intense. Let's see. I need to mute somebody. Let's see. Forgive me for a moment. All right, just keep you muted. So some of us are going to be right here. Others of us that feel ready for something a little more intense can bring the bolster in and bring your forearms up onto the bolster. It's going to put a lot more pressure on your low back, so it's important that you consider if that's what you want to do. And you can walk your elbows, whether you're on the bolster or not, you can walk your elbows further back toward your chest in order to make the curve of the spine deeper, or walk your elbows further forward to have a milder flexion in the spine. So I want you to lengthen out through your legs, tops of your feet are down, and as you are approaching and settling into this pose, pretty quickly you'll have the sense of whether or not your low back can tolerate this amount of flexion, and if not, please lower closer to the ground. You can also press down into the tops of your feet just a little bit, and press the pubic bone down toward the ground just a little bit, and that will reduce the flexion in your low back if you would prefer. And then soften. You can let the belly drop a bit, let your ribs drop down toward the ground, and you can let your head fall forward without the shoulders coming up toward the ears. So we are still keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. Breathe. You're stimulating those kidney points on the lower back, opening the front lines of energy on the body. Your breath is smooth. A lot of sensation to keep you interested here, I imagine. If at any point you get a sharp pain, you can come right down onto your belly. We want lots of sensation, but never sharp pain. Reading to you a few things about compassion. We learn compassion as we dissolve our personal version of the world and grow gentle eyes that are not afraid to see reality as it is. So growing gentle eyes. I once heard a man say, "With each step, I touch the earth lightly to do her no harm, and she in turn does me no harm. Whatever we find ourselves engaged in, this jewel of yoga, known as ahimsa or nonviolence, asks us to step lightly, to do no harm, and to honor the relationship we have with the earth, with each other, and with ourselves. All about relationship. What is your relationship with your body at this moment? You accepting what it can do, what it can't do? What is your relationship with your breath? Can you see it as a sacred companion? A doorway into peace. And just notice if anything in the body has released, has opened or settled. In this last minute here, with the head draping forward, just consider tipping your left and slowly head across the center. Shift your right ear towards your right shoulder. Receive the opening on the left side of your neck. And then drape your chin right back across your chest for a moment here. Feel that equal openness on both sides of the neck. And then as we prepare to come out of the pose, if you were on a bolster or any kind of support, slide it forward out of the way and drop down a mini belly down Shavasana. Rest your forehead on your hands. Let your low back relax. Some of you might want to bend the knees and swoosh your feet, windshield wiper your feet side to side. Release your low back. Let your hips rock. Breathing in, breathing out. Yin yoga is one of those practices. Doesn't always seem like a lot is happening while you're doing it, but I'd be very interested for you to email me and let me know how you feel later in the evening, tomorrow, and even the day after that. Releases a lot of energy. We're going to peel our way up and back into child's pose. So wide knee child's pose. If you're really loving the use of that bolster, you could bring it in and just kind of hug it. Let your hips drop down towards your heels. Or if you feel like your shoulders might like an opening within the wide knee child's pose, you could put your palms on the bolster and bring your forehead right down to the ground. And you might try a few things until you figure out exactly what you like. And that's good. Breathing, child's pose. There could be some in the class that want to take embryo, which is basically child's pose with your arms down by your sides. with your arms outside your leg bones, the backs of your hands on the ground, so your palms face up, and your shoulders roll forward. So some of you might like that. Deep, deep breaths. Feel the release of your low back. And notice this shape, this form that your body is in right now. Each shape is like a good kind of medicine. This is a poem by Swami Bapuji. My beloved child, break your heart no longer. Each time you judge yourself, you break your own heart. You stop feeding on the love which is the wellspring of your vitality. The time has come, your time, to celebrate and to see the goodness that you are. You, my child, are divine. You are pure. You are sublimely free. Let no one, no thing, no idea or ideal obstruct you. And if one comes, even in the name of truth, forgive it for its unknowing. Do not fight. Let go. You are God in disguise, and you are always perfectly safe. So don't fight the dark. Just turn on the light. Let go and breathe into the goodness that you are. Five more smooth breaths here. Let your belly really expand and fill up all that space between your legs. When you breathe out, feel the settling, the coming home of being just right within your own presence. All right, friends and yogis, we're coming out of child's pose and we are going to come down onto our back. We're going to do happy baby, and we're very close to Shavasana. So I do a nice hip stretch on the back and it'll open up your low back also. I'm going to keep my bolster right where it is here at my feet because I have plans to use that. So it's optional. You might want to do the same thing. Come down onto your back. Hug your knees in towards your chest. It's probably a good idea for some of you to put a little pillow or another blanket underneath your head, especially if your shoulders are tight or if you feel like your chin is sticking way up toward the sky. It would be much better for your neck to be long and your chin a little bit closer to your neck. And we're going to commit to happy baby, taking it one half at a time. So I'd like you to bend your left leg and put your left foot either on the bolster or you can have it right down on the mat. Bring your right knee in and with your right hand, reach the outer ridge of your right foot. So you've got the right knee quite far to the side, outside of your right rib cage, most likely, maybe in the region of your right armpit. Your right shin is vertical, straight up and down, sole of your foot facing flat up toward the sky. So we're addressing deep stretch in the right hip. You're using active right arm to create tension in the right hip. And then you've got some options with your left leg. You could just keep it bent as it is. You could straighten your left leg to the ground, or you could bring your left heel in toward the direction of your groin and let your left knee be out toward the left side of your mat. If you take that last option, which would be like half of a reclining butterfly, so on that left side, you could take your left palm and press your left thigh bone down as you use your right hand to draw your right foot out toward the side slightly. And then there's a grounding and a lengthening that takes place here from the tailbone, clear up through the low back, the region of the kidneys, adrenal glands pressing down toward the earth, the whole back of your torso, shoulder blades, back of the head. Breathing right here. Half happy baby. And although we're creating tension in the body, it is my sincere hope that your energetic self is feeling less and less tense, more and more at ease, more spacious and connected to this moment, what this moment has for you. Can you notice the breath as it travels in through the nostrils and down through the airways? Can you notice any pockets of tension in the body that aren't necessarily part of creating the pose, and you can just let them go? Good. 5 more breaths here. Half happy baby. Okay, let's prepare for the other side. First, let's release the legs, just stretch them out long. You can relax, be very, very soft, or some of you might want to straighten your legs, kind of reach out through the toes and energetically lift your hips off the ground if you feel like that would just be a nice flush. But eventually let your hips rest back down. Bend at the knees. This time, right foot stays either on the ground or on the bolster. Left hand takes the whole outer ridge of the left foot. Good. Guide your left kneecap outside your left armpit. Give thought to the placement of your right leg, whether it stays bent as it was when you entered the pose, or you lengthen out your right leg, or possibly bend the knee, right heel pointing in toward the groin, and then right knee out to the side with the right hand assisting the right thigh bone down. And then how close to the earth can you get with every part of the back of your body? Stay soft through your jaw, cheeks and eyes. Maybe attune yourself to not only the sensation that you're creating through this posture, but what about the subtle sounds in your room? Things that you don't normally notice because you're so busy listening to your own thoughts. And as the body accommodates this shape, you might make a little fine-tuning adjustments. And 5 more breaths here. Beautiful. When you feel ready to release, you can lengthen out your legs. If you feel like straightening the legs, push them down into the bolster, lift your hips up a little bit. Some of you might want to take your arms overhead. Just get that moment where you feel full extension from the toes to the fingertips. And then just slowly lower yourself right back down. We're approaching Shavasana. If you feel inclined, you could take the soles of your feet together, knees apart, just for a few breaths here of transition, and feel how that goes before you get ready for your final pose. I know some of you probably want to put socks on at some point. Sweatshirt, blanket. Good. So when you're ready, next thing you're going to do is get ready for integration. For this beautiful meditation that we call Shavasana or corpse pose. It's a meditation on the experience of wholeness and well-being and inner peace. So stretch on out. Give yourself the support that you need, the covering that you need. This has been a practice of self-care and self-love. Self-love is another dimension of ahimsa, or non-harming. As you're kind of settling your body into place, I'll read to you another little piece from the yamas and the niyamas. How we treat ourselves is in truth how we treat those around us. We can have hearts that are full of love for others and intentions to love that are pure. But the truth is, we will express that love for others by treating them the same way we treat ourselves. Love lies at the core of nonviolence, and it begins with our love of self. Not a love that is egocentric, but a love that is forgiving and lenient. A love that sees the humor in the imperfections and accepts the fullness of the human expression. Only when we find this love for all the parts of ourselves can we begin to express fully the love that wells up inside us for others. So, final pose of letting go. Of letting the ego relax completely. We come back to noticing just the rise and fall of the breath. There's nothing we are doing or nothing that we need to do. It's a gentle mind state of welcoming the experience and melting. As you breathe, you're receiving the molecules of the oxygen themselves as an unconditional gift from plant life to you. Feel it welcoming you unconditionally to just be here, however you are in this moment. And without forcing anything away, see what can melt. Perhaps subtle tension in the muscles of your eyes, shoulders, neck, or belly. Perhaps the conversations, anything lingering in your mind can just melt into the past. Or whatever you think comes next, just let that melt as well. In this beautiful state of being nothing, doing nothing, getting nothing, becoming nothing, seeking for nothing, relinquishing nothing. What's it like if you just be here as you are? What if right now you're already perfect? Let go into the ocean of infinite grace and just rest, be, rest in your sacred center. Feel the earth physically holding you. Feel the sacred space that you've been practicing in hold you and support you energetically. Allow this practice that your inner wisdom has drawn you to hold you. You always have a way back to your center. As long as you can practice yoga or meditation, you always have a way back. So I hope that you will progressively keep resting. It would be ideal for you to be able to stay another 10 minutes in Shavasana. And I'm going to quietly slip out of the room and let you stay exactly where you are. It's my pleasure to lead you tonight. I'll be doing this again next Thursday if you can join me, as well as gentle yoga on Monday night. And I send you all wishes for peace and health and happiness now and always. Namaste, and have a beautiful evening.